Happy Saturday. My name is Stacey Leanne. I love makeup and I'm a huge horror fan. So if that sounds like you should follow along. This week we are going to be talking about the Saw franchise and the inspiration behind the movies. I did go in with Jolie Beauty's Vampyrism palette because I just love that green baby poop colour. It's adorable. Don't forget to like and subscribe, maybe give it a share, help a girl out. Everything I use will be listed down below, but let's get into it. Quick story, right? So when I saw the first Saw movie, this was about 20 years ago, my boyfriend at the time, we were watching it and we'd ordered pizzas and I'd got really freaked out, so I said to him, can you please come to the bathroom with me and wait outside? So he did, and when I opened the door he had a Halloween mask on and he jumped out at me. When I tell you, I screamed. It wasn't funny at the time, it's quite funny now, so yeah. The story behind the Saw movies centres on John Kramer, who was a civil engineer driven to become the Jigsaw Killer after a series of personal tragedies. Believing that people have lost their appreciation for life, he forces his victims to survive deadly games in which they must inflict physical pain upon themselves to escape. Saw spans across 8 movies, one of which being Spiral, the Book of Saw. So let's talk about the origin story because that's always a really good place to start. Now, before becoming Jigsaw, John Kramer was a successful civil engineer happily married to Jill Tuck. Jill ran a drug rehabilitation clinic and the couple were expecting a child named Gideon. Now, one day when Jill was working, a junkie named Cecil Adams robbed Jill's clinic and in his haste to escape, he caused Jill to miscarry. The loss of the baby devastated Kramer, who became bitter and really detached. And shortly after this, John was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumour, giving him only a short time to live. He did attempt to unalive himself by driving off a cliff, but fortunately he did survive. This near-death experience provided him with a new appreciation for life and purpose. With a warped perspective, Kramer decides that he would teach others the value of life by testing their survival instincts, his first victim being Cecil. He, of course, was the man who caused Jill's miscarriage. John's engineering skills allowed him to design elaborate lethal traps, and he earned himself the name Jigsaw Killer, and this was because he cut a puzzle piece from the skin of those who failed to survive his games. Now, the original movie was a low-budget independent thriller created by Australian filmmakers James Wan Leigh Whannel after film school. Wan and Whannel had little money. Inspired by films like The Blair Witch Project, they decided to write a story where only a few actors were trapped in a single room. It was just cheaper to shoot. The idea for the famous grimy bathroom scene actually came to Wan whilst he was in the shower, and the character of Jigsaw was created by Whannel. The idea for the grisly bathroom scene actually came from when, whilst he was taking a shower, and the character of Jigsaw was conceived by Whannel during an intense migraine and fearing that he had a brain tumour. This experience led him to imagine how a terminally ill person might react to a death sentence and want to give others a similar brutal lesson. To attract producers, Wan and Whannel shot a short film showcasing the infamous bear trap from their script. It featured Whannel as a victim who must find a key inside another person to survive. The short film impressed producers in Los Angeles who greenlit the feature film. With a budget of just over $1 million, the movie was filmed in 18 days. Its success launched a franchise, cementing Wan and Whannel as influential figures in modern horror. After John Kramer's death in Saw 3, the film reveals that Jigsaw did not work alone. His former victims and other individuals became his devoted apprentices, including Amanda Young, a former heroin addict, and the first one to survive one of Jigsaw's traps. She became his protege, but ultimately failed the final test. Mark Hoffman, a detective who initially framed Jigsaw but was blackmailed into becoming an apprentice. He was more ruthless and sadistic than Kramer. Dr. Lawrence Gordon, a survivor from the first film, who secretly helped Kramer for years as a silent accomplice. Logan Nelson, introduced in the first Jigsaw, he was Kramer's first apprentice years after the original film. Even after his death, Kramer's influence and video will guide his successors and reveal his long-term contingency plans. The film explores the different reasons Jigsaw's victims are selected, including a health insurance executive who denied Kramer's claim, and a fraudster who promised a fake cancer cure. The central theme remains that Jigsaw's tests are designed to make people fight for their lives. The core idea of the bathroom scene originated from a shower thought. Wan and co-creator Whannel were looking for a way to make their film stand out. The initial idea involved a man and a toilet before it evolved into the final concept of two men chained in a bathroom. The film was conceived with a limited budget, leading to the idea of a two-actor single-room concept. The restrictions inspired the creators to explore a contained story, similar to how low-budget hits like The Blair Witch Project used a focused setting. The film was also inspired by David Fincher's Seven, which featured an unseen killer who punishes people based on their personal dogmatic vision of how people should behave. Jigsaw's similar mission to force victims to reevaluate their lives aligns with this thematic event. The brutal and intricate traps in Saw are rooted in medieval torture methods. The creators drew from real-life historical torture devices for inspiration in these gruesome set pieces. Jigsaw's philosophy of giving his victims a chance at salvation through his games is a central part of the inspiration. He believes his games are meant for people to redeem themselves and appreciate the value of life. Something I think people take for granted. The Saw movies timeline is notoriously complex due to its reliance on flashbacks and non-linear storytelling, with events often overlapping or being revealed out of chronological order. The main timeline follows John Kramer as the Jigsaw Killer and his apprentices, while later in the films follows a copycat killer after his death. While released late in the franchise, Jigsaw contains the earliest in-universe events. It shows one of John Kramer's first games and reveals that he took on a new apprentice named Logan Nelson from Saw 2004. This is the beginning of the central narrative. Dr. Gordon and Adam awake in the iconic bathroom, but the film includes flashbacks to John Kramer's early games and his interactions with Detective Tapp. Saw X, which was released in 2023, set between Saw and Saw 2. This film is an extended prequel. It details John Kramer's failed attempts to cure his cancer in Mexico and his subsequent revenge plots against the con artists who scammed him. Saw 2, which was released in 2005. Kramer is alive but very sick. Detective Eric Matthews hunts him down and must play a game to save his son, Daniel. The film features the gas house trap and reveals Amanda Young is working with Jigsaw. Saw 3 and Saw 4, these two films run concurrently. In Saw 3, a doctor is forced to keep a dying John Kramer alive. The doctor's husband must navigate a series of grisly traps. In Saw 4, Jigsaw is already dead, and the story follows the autopsy and a new game being led by his apprentice, Detective Mark Hoffman. The film reveals that Hoffman was also blackmailed by Jigsaw into becoming an accomplice. In Saw 5, after being framed by Hoffman, Agent Strawn must hunt for Jigsaw's apprentice whilst Hoffman sets a game for 5 victims to conceal his identity. In Saw 6, Hoffman continues Jigsaw's work but finds himself pitted against Jigsaw's ex-wife Jill Tuck. The game in this film targets a predatory health insurance executive who denied John's claims. Then moving on to Saw 3D. The story follows a self-help guru who falsely claimed to be a Jigsaw survivor, forcing him to play a real game. The film features a final confrontation with Hoffman and reveals Dr. Lawrence Gordon's secret role in the franchise. Then we can move on to Spiral from the Book of Saw. This was released in 2021 and a standalone sequel in the franchise. Spiral focuses on a new Jigsaw copycat killer who specifically targets corrupt police officers. It's good. I like this one. I thought it was really good. About halfway through you kind of know who the killer is, but I enjoyed it. Now, the franchise frequently uses flashbacks to fill in gaps and reveal new information, especially concerning Jigsaw's apprentices and early traps. A significant portion of the series occurs after John Kramer's death in Saw 3, focusing in on his grand posthumous scheme and the actions of his various apprentices. The film reveals multiple apprentices who helped or took over Jigsaw's work. Each had a unique dynamic with Kramer that is explored through the timeline. The later films, particularly Jigsaw and Saw X, added a depth to the existing timeline by exploring earlier, previously unknown events, such as Kramer's first ever games and his cancer scam. The Saw movie franchise, from its humble origins as a low-budget independent horror, evolved into a multi-billion-dollar cultural phenomenon that profoundly influenced modern horror and serialized storytelling. It's defined by its intricate, non-linear mythology, psychological underpinnings, and reputation for visceral, gruesome traps. The franchise's critical decline began after the original creative team, James Wan and Leigh Whannel, left the show after Saw 3. While the movies remained commercially successful for a time, they were criticised for increasingly convoluted plots and a greater focus on the gore, earning the label of torture. The series relies on a growing number of apprentices and becomes a frequent point of frustration for fans who thought it undermined Jigsaw's original philosophical narrative. Those complex interlocking plot threads which required viewers to watch every installment to understand the full story. It became a blueprint for later serialized cinematic universes such as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The franchise played a key role in popularizing the torture subgenre, inspiring other films like Hostel. The stunning financial success of the original Saw on a budget of just over $1 million proved that independent horror films could achieve mainstream success with a unique concept and clever marketing. At its best, the franchise explored themes of morality, redemption, and the human will to survive, forcing characters and the audience to confront the flaws in a life or death situation. The Jigsaw Killer, an iconic figure in horror and pop culture, became a complex philosophical antagonist rather than a mindless killer. For years, the annual release of a Saw movie in October made the franchise synonymous with Halloween, my favourite time of year. While later films like Jigsaw, Spiral and Saw X have continued to expand the mythology, the definitive narrative conclusion for the franchise was Saw 3D, also known as the final chapter. The film tied up several loose ends, including revealing the secret of the role of Dr. Lawrence Gordon as Jigsaw's most trusted apprentice. Gordon's return does bring the series full circle. One moment. So Gordon's return brings the series full circle, ending the game by locking the treacherous apprentice Mark Hoffman in the iconic bathroom, echoing the fate of Adam in the original films. And then finally bringing to an end of Jigsaw's legacy. And that is the Saw franchise. Which is your favourite Saw movie? I think mine has to be Saw 2, when Amanda falls in that needle pit. I felt that. Plus, I do love a good twist ending. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you ever have any movie suggestions, please leave them down below. Apart from that, I will see you next week. Bye.